with the collapse of the Russian Empire, Finland became an independent country. 1919, the Republic of Finland with a president at its head was set up.
Yeah.
Autumn 1939, USSR demands, Stalin valuable land from Finland, and attacked when refused. I've written the wrong word there, and something were refused. Despite brave resistance and 100 days fighting, the Finns were defeated and Russia took southern richest province, Karelia. In 1941, the Germans invaded Russia. So the Finns were in a bad position, really, because they had the Germans on the one hand and the Russians on the other. They had to side with the Germans because they didn't want Russia taking their land, did they? Or invading them. Anyway, Germans invade Russia in 1941 on the same side with the Finns. Anyway, and in the end, the Finns had to give up Karelia and Petsamo because the USSR in 1944 enforced harsh armistice terms.
Yes.
That's my homework. But that was a précis of everything, because there was a lot more information.
But the interesting thing with Finland is it's probably is the only country in Europe that was, well, you could say remotely sided with the Nazis, because they were up there
between the devil and the deep blue sea, weren't they? It was either the Russians,
yes,
or the Germans. So they had to give the Germans rights of way through their country. Or they would have just been overtaken by the Russians, and they didn't want that.
Yes.
But they had a few commies in their country who
you've got that point. Yeah, you've hit the point that you've actually got some Finnish working with the Russians. Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Carl, you're a bit quiet.
Am I a bit quiet?
Yeah, is it mine, do you think?
Try that now.
Try who?
Yeah, do you want to try your volume?
Oh, do you know what? It's me. Hello.
It's you, is it?
Yeah. Are you?
Right.
Yeah.
You can hear me now, yeah?
I can hear you now. It was me.
Ah, right. Okay. So I think we've I think what we haven't done is the actual invasion of Poland. We haven't actually done that yet. So we need to look at that.
I would look that up as well. I've only got the Britannica's F with me. I brought them over. D, E, and F.
Oh right, E and F, eh? You haven't got
and I got extradition to Garrick on the inside. I got the children's one. Very good books, actually.
Would she have been one of the people who would have bought the Encyclopedia Britannica from an Encyclopedia Britannica salesperson?
That's my mother and father would have done that, yes.
Oh, right. And it was quite a lot of money, actually. What was it?
Oh, yeah, we got the bookcase full of them. But they are really useful, really good books.
Yeah, they are. And then you've got the updated little bit that they put in every year. Yeah, the additional.
Oh yeah, we didn't get the updates.
Oh God, can you imagine?
I'll show you if you like. Yeah, we've got the children's one here, volume 4. This is.
Right, okay.
I learned a lot from these as a child. They're very well made. Look at that. Look how bound that is. Can you see the binding up the up here?
Oh wow, that's the children's version, yeah.
Yeah, this is the children's.
Oh right.
Well, let me go to Finland and then.
Yeah, go with Finland. That'd be good.
So we've got a map there of Finland.
Hang on, one second. And 1 second.
Okay,
I'll just typing something in a minute.
The climate can be very hard. In some years, snow begins to fall in October or November and may not melt away completely until May. North of the Arctic Circle in Finnish Lapland, the sun never appears. 51 days in midwinter. But in summer, there are 7 weeks of continuous daylight. In the south, daylight lasts 5 hours in the midwinter and more than 20 in midsummer.
God. Various changing weather conditions then.
Yes, because of the light, I suppose.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I got some good images here that we're going to look at now. I'm just.
It's a beautiful and complicated language which is extremely difficult to learn, but not difficult to speak, because every word is pronounced exactly as it is spelt.
Oh,
About
cool.
1 in 10 of the people are Swedish speaking, and therefore Swedish is used as a second language. Most of the towns, for instance, have a Swedish as well as Finnish name. The Finns are very well educated thanks to their excellent schools and universities. Most of the people belong to the Lutheran Protestant religion. See, this is very good, isn't it? Nicely written.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then it goes, where did I get the bit in here? The history of Finland. So there's like, this is in the history of Finland before the 20th century is largely a tale of wars between Sweden and Russia. During the 12th and 13th century, Sweden gradually got control of Finland, which became in the 14th century a Swedish province. Finland remained part of the Swedish kingdom until 1809 when it was taken by Russia. So it was a big thing, I suppose, coming up to the Second World War in that, with the Russians trying to. This gives the background. You know, like you said, you've got to look at the history.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do.
The Swedes treated the Finns well, allowing them much liberty and bringing them Christianity, education, and the law. But Finland suffered terribly in the Swedish Wars with Russia. Thousands of Finns were killed fighting for Sweden, and famine and disease spread through the country. So this is quite good, the children's version, because it's doing it. I'll show you the other one in a minute. The Russians tried in many ways during the 19th century to take away the Finns' freedom. In the end, in 1905, the Finns went on strike and demanded their rights and liberties. They wanted to manage their own affairs. And they forced the Russians to let them set up a new parliament whose members were elected by the votes of all the people over 21. Thus, Finland was the first country in Europe to give votes to women. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I can imagine Finnish women having, a way of organising their lives. Yeah.
Do they?
No. It's when you look at historically, right? When you look at the Scandinavian countries, those Viking Scandinavian countries, and Finland would be one of them. And there's actually 2 points there. Another point that the Swedish and Finnish Vikings were the ones that actually founded the royal house of the Tsars for Russia. So it was the Vikings that actually went out and actually created Russia in the first place. Yeah, they were known as the Rus Vikings. So the ones who founded the Tsars of Russia way back in the 900s were actually the Swedish and Finnish Vikings in the first place. So it came completely around, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at Catherine the Great of Russia in about the late 1700s, if I got the dates right there, she says late 1700s. Yeah, Catherine the Great in Russia in the late 1700s. I know that. She obviously she was female. She was this great sort of staunch leader, and of the Russians. And when you think about those. When you think about women in Scandinavia in the Viking period, they had equality to men. In fact, women's rights were far more superior to men. There are cases where a man would wander down the street in a Viking village, and if he looked at a woman the wrong way, she could have him stoned to death.
Maybe this is where I get my ways from. Maybe
What do you want to? that you want to stone to death Tom?
Well, it would be a horrible thing, horrible thing to do. But sometimes my blood does boil.
You want to stone
Anyway,
him to
so
death.
what happened then? So they get the first votes. The Russians, however, continued to interfere, while the Finns wanted above all to have their own country and to be free from the rule of the Russians or Swedes or anyone else. See, you'd learn this as a child because it's quite nicely written, isn't it?
Yes.
They took their opportunity when the Russian Empire collapsed. That's where I proceed from.
Yes, the First World War and the collapse of the Russian Empire. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, Russia seems to be collapsing a lot, to be honest with you. Yeah. So when you look at the end of the First World War from 1919 onwards, you've got this big collapse of Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, and other countries that have been given independence. And then what you then see is that after 1945, Russia gradually seizes all these countries back, not Finland, but it gets Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia back, and lots of other countries that had become independent after the First World War. So they get them all back. And then in 1991, there's a pattern happening here.
Yes.
Actually, no. What we're going to do, we're going to create the pattern with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Can you see the figure 9 comes into all this?
Oh.
Because 1919, right? You've got the collapse of the Russian Empire. 1939 was the start of the rebuilding of the Russian Empire again, which is the start of the Second World War. I'm making this link up, but it sounds good. And then in
1919, isn't it?
But what's that?
The age of the 19. There was that song, wasn't there?
19 by
average.
1984, exactly.
Vietnam.
Yes.
They were 19. The ones who died.
And then you've got 1989 and the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the Russians have to give it all up. And now, right? I'm just going to make another date up. Didn't the Russians invade the Crimea in 2019? That's probably wrong, actually, but
I don't know.
But yeah, no, right.
We better stick to facts, haven't we? Eh?
Yeah, all right, then we'll stick to facts. All right, then.
Otherwise, you will confuse my poor mind.
You don't want to confuse. We know that the Berlin Wall collapsed in 1989. Oh, do you know what we're going to do, right? We're actually going to look at that date, right?
It's 220122 today. Talking of like numerology and that.
Is it?
Yeah, so we've got 22nd 01. Oh, it should be at 22. Anyway, yeah, what does that add up to? 2 2 is 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my God, today adds up to 9. Look, 2 and 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9. And you were just talking about nines.
Nines.
Yeah.
Hey, I tell you what, I got that date completely wrong. The annexation of the Crimea by Russian Federation, February and March 2014. So I can't get away with that. I can't get away with making up history on that one.
No.
That's a shame, isn't it?
What a terrible crying shame that is.
That crying game. If the Russians had waited 5 years later, it'd be a 9. It would be a 9 as well.
Well,
hey, right. Let's get on.
Wrong.
Let's get on with some of these images. Otherwise, we're never going to get this done. Right. Okay. So we're 15 minutes already in. So
you're kidding me. Well, we went to talk about Finland. You wanted to do that, didn't you?
Well, you've done your homework, haven't you? That's the main thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to do sort of 20 minutes of Finland and sort of 20 minutes of Poland, and we'll put 5 minutes of Italy in there. That's a good one.
Okay.
So I'll just keep an eye on the ball here. So we've got that there, and actually some great stories, some great images actually. And there they are. There's the lads. Right? These are actually Finnish soldiers.
In the Second World War?
No, in the Finnish War. In the Winter War. This is the Winter War. This is the war. this what we'll do, we'll have a look at a load of images, and then I'll look at a load of text. Okay, so what we've got is we've got them looking out ready. This is a propaganda pose. And the one thing I would say, the one thing I'm going to quickly say is that the Finnish were actually prepared for this war. They were used to using skis. I know it sounds strange, right?
Well, no, they were used to terrible winter conditions. I mean, I'm not.
Well,
actually,
I'm not.
Tom's a very good skier, believe it or not.
You're a terribly good skier.
Tom is.
Oh, well, I can believe it. I can believe it.
On his feet on the land, but on skis, the man can ski. So, yeah, it is a skill being able to get through that sort of terrain.
And the thing is, you see, they were ready. They were ready for a war with Russia, except
they didn't want Russia taking them over.
They didn't have the resources to fight a war like that. But no, actually, when you said about this, you kept to the facts. You said about Finland being involved in the Second World War, right? After the invasion of Russia with Barbarossa in 1941, yeah. Finland simply got involved against Russia because it was all out for revenge,
right?
And they did actually quite well initially against the Russians, like the Germans did. They were all out for revenge. It wasn't. It was an opportunity actually. The Finnish could have actually just stayed there, and maybe Germany would have been no threat to Russia, to Finland, if you look at it that way, because Germany didn't invade Sweden either. So can you
yeah, Sweden... from what I read, Germany and Finland didn't want to go to war with each other. This was all about keeping the Ruskies out.
And
the Finns didn't want to be commies.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
I can only talk in that language because that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does make sense. So I'm loving this image. I'm loving what I'm seeing. They're going to war. This is a propaganda image. And there we are. So the area that we're really interested in is this area above Leningrad, Rapuri. And actually, you said that the words are pronounced as they see. So that to me looks like Rapuri. And Helsinki, there you go. Helsinki's as it is, isn't it? Helsinki, it's great. So what we've got, Helsinki is very, very close to Russia if you look, and it's a very vulnerable position to be in. That peninsula above Leningrad is where they're fighting, and along that border, all the way from Murmansk, all the way down to the south there, this border is very, very vulnerable. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to choice look at these images, unfortunately, and see as fast as we possibly can. So here we go. A Soviet propaganda postcard. What's going on here is that dog represents the Finnish.
Right.
And what the Russians are actually saying is that the Germans, you can see the swastikas on the sleeve there. The Germans are actually saying, little doggy, wait, go on, the Russians are over there, now go. So this is what this image is saying. In other words, and the sleeves there, almost are almost a Finnish uniform, but whatever's happening here, that the sleeves actually could represent the president of the Finnish Republic. So the main thing is that the Russians are saying, look, you guys are actually friends with the Nazis, and you're just going to let your dog off the lead.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what that's saying, that postcard. And basically, this is when a non-aggression pact is being signed. And we'll go on to all this. We'll just
I read about that. But that was smashed, wasn't it?
Yes.
That
But
was totally ignored, and then
don't go to war with us. And lots of people signed those things.
yeah.
You're talking about the Rayback Peninsula, and this sort of vista, this landscape of Finland, as you pointed out, in the summer months you can get 20 degrees C, and then in the winter months this is going to be solid. And fighting in these conditions, the Finnish would have been ready. And you can actually see that their uniforms, even their summer uniforms, look quite chunky.
Yes.
Can I just chuck away a little bit of a weird fact? I said I was going to go back and forth in this months ago. Have you ever wondered why you see photographs of German soldiers and their sleeves are turned up all the way to their joints? Have you ever seen that?
No, but Tom does that, and he does it so that it doesn't all get caught up in machinery and stuff. Well, that's his excuse, anyhow.
And the other reason is, right, actually, that's a good that is a very, very good reason. The other reason is because the German uniforms were made of a really coarse woolen material.
Right.
And they didn't.
So it'd be itchy then.
It'd be very itchy, yeah. You could see that. And the other thing that points out to me with those uniforms is they look very German. Except there's no link at all with the uniforms. It's just the way that Scandinavian countries had similar uniforms to.
Well, they had to be practical, didn't they? Those uniforms look very practical, don't they?
Yeah, very deep pockets. It looks very, very thick wool, very thick hats, and you notice what a great propaganda image. He's got a massive smile on his face. He's loving it.
They're getting some nice grub there, aren't they? Bit of breakfast.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely. So here we go. 29th of November 1939. Foreign press, seeing what's going on. The foreign press have been invited in, this is 29th of November 1939. So this is after the likes of Russia and Germany have invaded Poland. And January 1940, a soldier from Finland, and he very much looks ready for war. So obviously you've got summer dress and you've got winter dress. And in a way, now, have you noticed the turn from the earlier uniforms? These look very Russian-like uniforms. In a way, these Finnish soldiers were part of Russia until 1919, and the standards of dress would have been standards of dress that were left over from the time that these were part of the Russian Empire. So number one, summer uniform. Number two, that long trench coat with those really nice boots. German soldiers died for those boots when it started to get cold in Russia. German soldiers, when they were fighting Russia in 1941, did not have uniforms like the gentleman on the right.
No,
that was one of the big failings of the German army. They were not
prepared.
And it is like in many instances, when Iraq was at war with the Allies in 2003, they did not have the equipment that the Allies had, and it was too late when the Russians were actually giving them night vision cameras and all the rest of it. They were just not ready, but the Finnish were ready. They knew how to fight the Russians. And again, this sort of landscape of trees and boulders, rocks, little buildings. I would have liked to be on the border between Russia and Finland. It's just not the place I'd like to be. So what we're looking at is offensives of the Russians. So what they're doing, and we'll look at this in brief detail in a short while. What they're doing, they're trying to make as much headline as possible, and this is basically a complete war footing, where the Russians have got. It almost seems as if there's more than 4 invasions, but they're invading along the entire frontier, and not just in one pocket. When you just invade in one pocket, because the pocket in the south north of Leningrad, for example, that's quite a tight pocket. You can defend that, right? But when you're attacking a huge front like this, it's going to be very difficult for the Finnish to actually keep that at bay. The Finnish would have been very good at defending a single pocket against the Russians. So what I want to do now, and there you go, that image, a Finnish Maxim, the M32, and again, the Maxim gun was the gun that was used in the First World War, but they were quite effective, and they're being used in the Second World War. Remember, this is a very odd war. Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to do some of the facts and figures. So we'll go off the images there now. I just wanted to do a little bit about the images, and we'll look at some facts and figures now. So we'll stop that sharing. Okay, stop. Hang on a minute. It's not stopping me sharing. Stop. Right, good. So we're going to do some facts and figures, some really nice facts and figures in the time that we've got. So, okay. Go for it. Right. And so this is known. This is. I remember doing a little bit of research on this ages ago, and it was not part of this. It was technically not part of the Second World War. It was not a Second World War campaign. But the war of the Soviet invasion of Finland was well planned before the outbreak of the Second World War, when Russia entered it on the 17th of September. Russia didn't enter the Second World War until the 17th of September, obviously because they invaded Poland, right? But to the Russians, even though we see this war of the Russians invading Poland as part of the Second World War, the Russians didn't see it as part of their Second World War. The Russians see their Second World War as beginning when the Germans invaded with the Barbarossa campaign in the summer of 1941. So, right. In Russian history, they've divided this to the Finnish. This is to the Finnish and the Soviets. This is the Winter War. This is not the Second World War. It began with a Russian invasion of Finland on the 30th of November 1939. So right. All those non-aggression pacts, all those sort of things that just don't invade, right? It was the 30th of November 1939. The Polish, like the Finnish, got caught out with these non-aggression pacts with the Russians.
Yes.
This was 3 months after the outbreak of the invasion of Poland in 1939. And everything ended on the 13th of March 1940 with the Moscow Peace Treaty. And the Russians were all up for sort of peace treaties. Now, it was due to if the war was just on that peninsula above Leningrad, the Finnish would have won, right? But unfortunately, it wasn't. It spread along a long front, as we've already seen, from Murmansk all the way south, and it was despite superior military strength, its tanks and aircraft, the Soviet Union suffered massive losses, and we're going to talk about those losses. The League of Nations, which was established after the First World War in 1919, deemed the attack illegal and expelled the Soviet Union from the organization. So, the League of Nations was set up to stop wars, and it was yeah. So the war after it did actually last over 3 months, 3 months, 1 week, and 6 days. And they, as you said, they had to give up territory, they had to give up islands. They had to give up Rebach Peninsula, as we've already mentioned. That peninsula, they even had to lease some. They leased some land to the Soviet Union. It was quite sort of if you don't stop the war now, the Finnish, right, we're going to make things even worse. And the Finnish thought, right, we'll stop. But it was a year later that the Finnish actually had their revenge. Now, just to chuck a few facts at you, right? 30th of November 1939, you've got the Finnish. You've got the Finnish army, and they've got some foreign volunteers, right?
Yeah.
The foreign volunteers are going to be the Swedish, the Norwegians, a couple of Germans as well, maybe whoever, right? So that's that. So there's the Finnish army and some foreign volunteers. Interestingly enough, the Soviet Union, as you rightly said, you rightly researched, there was a communist Finnish element in it. So all these communists from Finland actually joined the Russians. Now, these facts and figures, right? Listen to these facts and figures. This is what you need to write down. So the maximum strength of the Finnish was somewhere just short of 350,000, 340,000 Finnish soldiers were involved. 340,000, right? And up to 750,000, 760,000 Russian were involved. So the Finnish were outnumbered the Finnish were outnumbered 2-1. So that's an interesting fact. Interesting enough, Rosamond, it could have been 10-1, but it was 2-1. Now, here's some of this makes really interesting reading, right? The Finnish had 32 tanks, right? Versus up to 6,541 tanks.
How many?
6,541 tanks. So the Finnish had 32.
God.
So there's no comparison. Right, listen to this. The aircraft, naturally these Finnish pilots would have known what they were doing, right? Because it was their territory. The Finnish aircraft, 114 aircraft. And guess how many aircraft the Russians deployed?
Quite a few.
3,880 aircraft. So the percentages ain't even matched. The numbers of soldiers are matched, but the percentages ain't even matched. And these are the crunch figures. These are the massive crunch figures. So you've got 25,904 dead or missing Finnish. So 26,000 basically for good language, right? So 25,904. Now this is a key figure. Right, the reason the Russians needed a peace treaty, the Russians couldn't continue the war, by the way. If the Finnish had held it out for a couple more months, the Russians would have capitulated anyway, and they would have had to have retreated. But the Finnish didn't know this, right? The Finnish didn't know how bad the Russian army was. The Germans realized after Barbarossa in 1941, but that was to come, right? The Russians lost a staggering 167,976 dead or missing. So that is absolutely that is off the scale, yeah. So if we want to go, the Finnish had on their recordings they had 43,557 wounded, and the Russians suffered up to 207,538 wounded, sick, right? And guess what? There are no figures for the Finnish wounded having frostbite, but the Russians recorded 61,506, mainly due to frostbite because they couldn't cope with the cold conditions. Now that is a very important figure. Right, okay. The Finnish basically lost all their tanks.
Yeah, well, right? Only with 32, they were going to lose them, weren't they?
They had 2 left. So they lost 30 tanks out of the 32, right? Now the Finnish don't record any captured. So what we've got the Russians lose. They have 5,572 of their troops captured. There's no captured figures for the Finnish, right? And the other fact with all this, the other massive fact is that the Russians lose up to 3,543 tanks. So half their entire tanks of 6,541 are gone. See how much damage, the Finnish do a lot of damage to the Russians, and they could not sustain this if a couple of months had gone by. If, mind you, if the summer months had come in, the Finnish would have been at a disadvantage. So they were used to fighting, and so the Finnish probably thought, they sat down, Rosamund, and they thought, right, we're used to fighting in the snow. How are we going to do with the Russians? Maybe the Finnish did the right thing, right? They probably sat down with this. And the Russians lost 515 aircraft, which is quite considerable. And they lost the Finnish lost a single ship. So in other words, what we can look at quickly, right? The casualty figures, the dead, missing, whatever, with the Finnish side is around 70,000, right? The Russians, 381,000 casualties.
Huge losses, isn't it, for them?
So half of the entire Russian deployed forces were casualties. Whereas in regards to the Finnish, if you want to 70 into it's about one sixth.
Well,
My
book did say that they were well educated and clever people. So
in
their
other words,
soldiers were far outmaneuvered the Russians. I mean, I don't know what the Russian education system is or how they.
These were lots of these people were used to. Lots of these people were just normal farmers who were fighting.
I was going to say, are these just people that they've recruited from, and they're not
all over the place? Yeah,
military people. It sounds like the Finns had properly trained up their troops.
Exactly. So the one thing is, right, the one thing is, if Russia had invaded Finland, say on the 17th of September, at the same time they invaded Poland, right, the Russians would have lost. And the reason why the Russians would have lost is that they would not have been capable of defeating the Finnish in the conditions.
No.
The Russians would have just, and the other thing as well is the Russians wouldn't have had as many soldiers because they deployed some of them invading Poland in the first place. So as you're right in saying, the Soviets made several demands to cede territory, particularly north of Leningrad. Finland refused, and then Russian invaded. Finland expelled Soviet attacks for more than 2 months and inflicted substantial losses in temperatures up to minus 43 degrees C. After the Soviets reorganized themselves in February, but they overcome the Finnish defenses a lot. This is what I mean, that the conditions are changing, and the Russians are actually using better weather conditions against the Finnish. So there was a Moscow peace treaty, and 9% of the entire territory of Finland was ceded to the Russians, which was quite massive. Yeah. Their gains exceeded their pre-war demands, and the USSR received substantial territories and along Lake Ladoga. However, after 15 months of peace, in June 1941, the Finnish decided to continue its war against those damnable Ruskies. So what we're going to do, it would be a good thing to look at the Finnish invasion. The Finnish invasion next week, or the new invasion in June 1941. That'd be good. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a little bit about Poland and look at that little bit of a war, which we haven't done. So let's just kick into this. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a quick break a second, right?
Okay.
I'm just going to have a quick break because I've got to get my charger lead. So I'm going to run and get my charger lead in a minute. So let's go a quick break. So
how many minutes have I got time to get tea?
You've literally got as long as it takes for me to run and get the lead. So you've got 2 minutes.
Just go get that then. So it's not really a break, is it? You're just going to go get your lead. Go get your lead.
Go and get my lead. Go get my lead.
Lead.
And I'll just leave this image on the screen 1 second. So just go and get my lead. Oh, it's the St. David's Day coming up as well. Go and get your lead. Don't tell me Stab goes to school with a leak on. So all these little images, I'm just going to see what we've got. It's a very patriotic war, actually. It's a very interesting war. various memorials devoted to the victims, to the soldiers lost, various war memorials, cathedral heavy damage. There you go. And the other thing as well is, in Russia was a completely different world than Finland. And I'll make this case quickly before I run and get this. When the Russians were invading Finland, the houses that the Russians were coming across were luxury compared with lots of the houses that their people were living in. Finland was a different world. And
from what I read, Finland was very well organized, well educated country. What with women getting the votes in 1905.
Exactly. So you could, and this was the same thing when the Russians were invading Germany in 1944. The houses that the Russian soldiers were coming across were unbelievable. Right, so I'll be back now. I won't be long. I'll be quick. Actually, that image ain't doing much good for us. Oh, there we go. This is. Hang on. This is that one. This is that one where they're showing the conceded territories. There it is. This is what they've had to give up quite a lot.
Yeah.
I'll be back now. Oh. Oh. Are you there?
I'm still here.
Good. Hey, I got a question you can ask Tom, right?
Why? What's that then?
Ask him how long it takes for him to have a pee.
Why?
He's got to count the length of time. Because the average time it takes for a man to have a pee is 20 seconds.
Is it?
Yeah. So I think this map is intriguing. What the Russians took from the Finnish. It's you know, the late Lake Ladoga. Now the lake belongs to the, Ladoga. Yeah, the lake now belongs to the Russians. And look at you know, they've got the Gulf of Finland and Hanko, which is so near Helsinki. They've leased that to the Russians and a ninth of their territory. Just quickly.
So that's never gone back to the Finns.
Say that again?
That territory's never gone back to the Finns?
Well, we'll actually, what we'll do, we'll quickly look at Finland now. And this is basically that sort of campaign, late Ladoga. You can see the amount of divisions that the Finnish have actually got in warfare, which is all these individual boxes represent Russian military divisions, and they're limited. The Finnish have a massive territory to actually defend. Finnish officers, you know,
that's Stalin, isn't it, behind him?
Yeah, but this is Finnish officers and
At Moscow, is it?
Hang on a minute. Finnish inspecting skiing manuals.
Well, they look like they're having a good laugh at those, don't they?
Yeah, I think they are.
They're like,
I think they are. And are you still there? Oh God, reception's got a bit weird. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Hello, Rosamund, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here. Are you there?
Oh God. Rosamund!
Yes.
All right, there you go. There you go, a Bristol Blenheim, which would have been supplied by the Allies, March 1940. A Finnish Bristol Blenheim. A Finnish soldier, there he is, well equipped for the snowy conditions.
Absolutely.
Soviet prisoners of war, over 5,000 of them, dressed in Finnish uniforms. Yeah, he looks bloody,
picture, isn't it?
He looks bloody cold, I gotta be honest with you.
He looks scared as well, doesn't he? Bless him.
But he is being treated with a modicum of respect. He's not being dragged through the snow, is he? So
no.
Soviet prisoners of war, there were over 5,000 of them. And there we go, dead Soviet soldiers and their equipment. Obviously, you know, this is you know, these are a T-34 type class tanks that were the workhorse of the German the tanks. And yes, dead Soviet soldiers. This is going to be good for propaganda. Dead anybody's not good, but that's life. And again, more of these battles. And I just want to, again, Soviet T-26 model tank. Obviously advancing into the snow, which is not cut out for the snow, these tanks at this stage. Soviet tracks, there you are, they're marching through, and the Molotov signing a deal with the Russians. This is the Russian deal with the Nazis before. Fire, destruction, and back to this one. So, okay, what I'm going to quickly do, I wanted to do some Poland stuff now, as I said, and we'll stop that screen sharing, and we'll do that, and let's do it. Right, so here we go. Stav's with you, is he?
No, not today. He's with his dad.
Right, let's do a bit of invasion of Poland. Right, as we know, the invasion of Poland, the 1st of September, until the 6th of October 1939, and this was the Germans saw this as a defensive war because they claimed that the Polish had declared war on them, and the Polish say it's a defensive war, you know, for them defending themselves against the Nazis. And eventually on the 17th of September, they're defending themselves against the Russians. The German invasion began. What's that?
Sorry, I'm taking in all this information. I've had to switch in my head now from Finland to Poland, and I didn't research Poland.
No, so we'll just do those facts again. So the invasion of Poland, 1st of September. So
1st of September, what year?
1939. So the 1st of September, the 6th of October, 1939 was that war, right? Was the war? Was that's the Second World War proper, but the Russians didn't see it that way. Right, for the Germans, this was the start of their Second World War. For the Russians, it was not really start of their Second World War.
No, okay.
Their Second World War really didn't begin until the Russians have got different names for it, like the Great Struggle, the war with the Polish and the war with the Finnish, and all these.
Thus began the Russian-Finnish Continuation War on the June the 25th, 1941.
Yes. So we'll do that next week, right?
Okay.
Do that next week. Anyway, we're just doing a little bit of Poland stuff now. So the German invasion began on the 1st of September 1939, 1 week after the signing of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact between Germany and Soviet Union, and 1 day after the Supreme Soviet of the Soviet Union had approved the pact. So you know, this had all been planned, and the devastating events of the 17th of September, that the Soviets invaded Poland, we will never know whether the Polish could have held out. And my belief is that the Polish could have kept with Russian support and with Romanian support. I think that they could have kept the Germans at bay, but we will never know. And the campaign ended on the 6th of October with the Polish and with the German and the Soviet troops meeting in the middle, and basically that was it. And what I'm not going to do is go on to what ifs and what buts, right? The only what if is German didn't, the only what if is, that's the only one I want to say, is if Russia hadn't have invaded Poland, then I believe that the war would have been over in 1939. That's the only if and but that I've got with the entire Second World War. I'm not going to say if the Allies had helped Poland, if France had invaded and continued on to Berlin, if the British had sort of, I don't care about that, right? I think the Polish could have done pretty well as long as the Russians didn't invade. That's what I feel. That's what my gut tells me, right? So what we've got is eventually, you know, those territorial changes that we've already seen on maps, Rosamund, which we've already said was so unfair. Poland losing its territory to Russia forever, even though Poland was on the winning side in the Second World War, but so was the Russians. I still think that this is hard for me to work out. I'm struggling. Maybe one day I'll be able to sit down and work this out, but I can't. Right. Yeah. So actually, the other thing as well is, right, this is another fact. When Czechoslovakia had been divided into two separate republics, the Czech and the Slovak Republic, right? The Slovak Republic actually, invaded Poland. So the Slovak Republic was technically independent from the Polish and whatever, right? But the Slovak Republic actually invaded Poland. So the Slovak Republic actually supported the German invasion of Poland in 1939. Yeah? Right. And interestingly enough, there was another side involved in this, which the Free City of Danzig. This is a very strange one, right? The Free City of Danzig is on the Baltic coast, right? It consisted of an autonomous city-state which existed between 1920 and 1939. It'd been a little country on the Baltic between the territories of Poland and East Prussia. Was it West? Never. Yeah, East Prussia. And it consisted of 200 towns and cities, and existed until 1939. And it was actually set up by the Treaty of Versailles. And I'll just as I say, we like doing strange things, and this is what we're going to do now. I'm going to screen share this where the city of Danzig is actually. It's a strange country involved in a war that we never hear about. That's what we want to do. And another little fact in there. So if we check on this, look at that there. So between you've got East Prussia, City of Danzig, yeah. A-N-Z-I-G. So the city of Danzig actually declared war on Poland as well. It was an independent country. You don't hear about that, do you? No. So Germany, it was the Slovak Republic, and the city of Danzig was involved in the war on the 1st of September. On the 17th of September, the Russians entered the war. And there we go. The Free City of Danzig, we've already said, was established after 1919 under the League of Nations. It had League of Nations protection. So it was a League of Nations protection country that actually invaded Poland. And it was, there we go, a population of 410,000. And it was like, it's basically known as the Polish Corridor. It was alongside the Polish Corridor. So if we look up there, the Polish had access to the sea. There you go. But the city of Danzig on the right there was basically an independent country, which you don't hear about. It doesn't exist anymore. Here we go. By 1939, the city senate had a majority of local Nazis, and agitation to rejoin Germany and stepped up. Ooh, many Jews fled from German anti-Semitism in Danzig. So in other words, Danzig they actually wanted to join Germany again. They wanted to be part of Germany again. They had been part of Germany before 1919. They wanted to be part of Germany now, right? Like the Austrians in the Anschluss. So here we go. It's some terrible things about concentration camps, which is relevant and so on. But yeah, I was brushing over that, which I shouldn't do, but we haven't got much time.
No, that's not what we're doing at the moment, is it?
That's not what we're doing at the moment. No. So
okay, not dismissing that happened, but we're looking at these facts about the invasion of Poland.
Exactly. During the city's conquest by the Soviet Union in the early months of 1945, a substantial number of citizens fled or were killed because these people had helped the Nazis. In 1945, the city officially became part of Poland, according to the Potsdam Agreement. In the period immediately after the war, many surviving Germans were expelled to the West or East Germany, while members of the pre-war Polish ethnic minority started returning and new Polish settlers began to come. Gdansk suffered from underpopulation from these events. It did not recover until the late 1950s. So in other words, what we're talking about a country that was involved in the Second World War alongside the invasions of the Nazis of the country. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to give you a couple of last facts and then we're going to have to call it a day, okay?
Yeah.
And it's going to do that. Right, okay. Right, I just want to give you some of these facts and figures as we did before, okay?
Okay.
Right, so here we go. Facts and figures. The Polish had 1,000. Start again. The Polish had 1 million troops. The Germans had 2 million troops and all their friends. However, when we talk about all their friends, that included the 17th of September and the Russians. So the Germany didn't invade in full strength they didn't invade with 2 million. That figure of 2 million includes the Soviet Republic, Danzig, the Soviet Union. So 2 million is Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, Soviet Republic, and Danzig. Okay, but the Polish had 1 million, and they had 39 divisions. The Germans had 66 divisions, so it was 2 to 1. Now, quick figures. At the beginning of the war, the 1st of September, there was 9,000 artillery pieces that the Germans had, but the Polish, amazingly enough, had 4,300 guns, which was half the number again, but there you go. This is what made a difference. The Germans had 2,315 aircraft. The Polish had 800 aircraft. So it was 3 to 1. The Germans had 2,750 tanks and tankets. And the Polish had 890 tanks and tankets, and basically a tank is basically a small armored tank, right? A small little tank, right? So basically, 880 of these tanks and tankets compared to the German 2,750. That's 3 to 1. But finally, this is what makes interesting reading, right? We're still working on the German figures. The Germans lost 17,269 people in their entire campaign, with 30,300 wounded and 3,500 missing. They lost 236 tanks in the campaign, 800 other vehicles, and 246 aircraft. But the Polish figures are combined together. And unfortunately, the Polish figures include all the Polish soldiers that actually surrendered after the war in October. So it's really not fair to look at those figures, which we will look at next week. But in total, the Polish basically lost their entire army of they had 8,007 they had 874,700 casualties. And most the remaining aircraft, most of them flew over to Britain. So on that note, what we're going to do, we're going to call it a day. We'll complete on Finland and Poland next week, and we didn't do anything about Italy. But one thing about Italy that makes very interesting reading. So, are there any questions this week?
No. But what's my homework then for next week? Because it was interesting reading up.
Italy, the Italian Republic from the early 1920s all the way through to the abandonment of the Fascist Union in 1944.
Okay, great. I shall do my best.
In other words, it could be said that Mussolini started a bit off like he thought, right. Mussolini thought, why don't I try a bit of socialism, right? No, we won't do that. Why don't I try a bit of this? Oh, we'll do fascism. He was looking for politics.
Yeah.
He didn't set out to be a fascist in the beginning, but eventually he became one.
Okay.
My God, Franco was the same.
Yeah.
One thing I will quickly say before we finish, right? Adolf Hitler was not a true fascist. He was a Nazi, which is a big difference. That is a big difference. Mussolini was an elected fascist. And Franco was a chosen fascist. The Ferengi party in Spain. Those are real fascists. Hitler was not a fascist. He was a Nazi. Big difference. I will keep saying that till I die.
Okay.
The Germans were not fascists. They were Nazis. A massive difference. Huge difference.
Great.
So I would say that Nazism is based on innate evil. Fascism isn't.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my bias. Oh yeah, I said that
I'm gonna have to find out, aren't I?
Right. Nazism is a religion. It's not a political way. It's a religion. Fascism is a political way. Big difference.
Right. Okay.
Look up. The facts and figures are there. They immediately
I
say
doubt
that
whether they'll be in the Encyclopedia Britannica somehow.
they immediately say that Nazis are fascist, but they're not.
No. Okay.
And it's the same as saying a socialist is a communist. It's not. Somebody in the Labour Party is a communist. They're not. It's a completely different thing. Like a conservative is not a nationalist. A conservative is a conservative. That's why they're called conservatives. They're not nationalists. So.
Just doing my head in now.
It's good. It's good that your head's done in. I like that thing.
All right then. All righty.
So anyway, oh God, we're supposed to have Stamp today, and we're going to do the archaeology of coal mines.
Well, you'll have to give him a call or something because he's with his dad. So I don't know how he'll manage getting online.
Yeah, I did send him a message earlier on.
I've messaged as well. So I don't know today. But next week he should be with me.
All right, then. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Sounds interesting as well about the coal mines. He would like that. I don't know. Let's see if he's replied to me now while we're online. No, he hasn't replied to me.
All right then. Okay. All right then.
All right then.
We'll call it a day now. And Halvar, and I'll see you next week.
Okie dokes. Cheers, Carl. Very interesting.
No more questions, is there? There's no more questions now?
No. I've got to absorb what I've taken in. And I've got lots of things to research, so that's good.
You you certainly got to do the Russians. Not the Russians. You've certainly got to look at the. Oh God, I forgot the Italians. That's the one. That's
The eye ties.
the eye ties. That's the way to go. Exactly.
All right then.
Take care.
Then.
All that. Give Stav another dinner and see if he's about. I'll speak to you soon.
All right then. Ta, bye, 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 bye.
Bye, 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 bye.